What's up, Bears fans? Coming up on today's show, we are going to take a look at 5 offensive free agent targets for Ben Johnson and the offensive coaches that we for sure know are on staff. Some could be added by the time you watch this, but these 5 players will have connections to either Ben Johnson, Declan Doyle, obviously Antwaan Randle and JT Barrett, along with Ben Johnson for any Lions players, and then also Press Taylor. We got a Jaguar that I want to talk about as well. We did this with Dennis Allen and the defense. Let's do it with Ben Johnson and the offense. And listen, guys, we are oh so close to 116,000 subscribers. We're less than 150 away, 132 to be exact. I would love to get to our next milestone by the end of this weekend. And if you want free and daily Bears content sent straight to you on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Okay, let's take a look at Kevin Zeitler first. I think this will be the most commonly linked Detroit Lions free agent to the Bears because he's an offensive player. A lot of Lions players aren't free agents, but Zeitler's a good one, and the Bears need offensive line help. He was tremendous last year. Graded out really well per PFF, despite being 33, almost 34 years old, and he is a guy that obviously would fit in well with Ben Johnson. The language of the offense would be a seamless transition. Obviously, Ben's going to, tear the offense down to the studs and build it around the players they do have, but Zeitler would be able to pick that up in a timely manner. He's a vet. He played in Baltimore for a while. He's been around winning. Older, obviously, just like the next guy we're going to get to in a sec, but I think depending on kind of how the guard market plays out, what's going to happen with Trey Smith, this guy could be a really, really good addition for the Chicago Bears. As could Brandon Scherff, longtime guard, was with Washington for a while, spent the last few seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We actually talked about him at the trade deadline during the Nate Davis saga. Like, could you bring in a Brandon Scherff for cheap at the trade deadline? They opted not to do that. Probably a good move because, let's be honest, this past season was going nowhere. Obviously didn't grade out as well as Zeitler did. Did not give up a sack, though, so that's pretty promising as well. For him, he's been around, played with different teams, played in different systems, has played well throughout the course of his career. Now, he's 33, Zeitler's 34. These are short-term options. You're talking about probably 2-year contracts at most with these guys, 1 to 2 years, I would imagine, both in the, I don't know, 6 on the low end, 10 on the high end, $1 million per year. I think it'd be like in the $7-8 million range per year, so maybe you're talking like 2 for 15 type contracts for these guys, and I don't think you'd sign both, right? Like, you'd probably bring in one of these as a vet and then opt to go younger in the draft or in free agency with a guy like Trey Smith as your other guard. But you look at this offensive line, I mean, it wouldn't upset me at all if they went with one of these veterans to plug a hole. Is it a long-term answer? No, but on a 1 or 2 year basis, can they help fill in at left or right guard and be an upgrade over what you had? Sure. Now, maybe they're not quite as good as healthy Tevin Jenkins, but Jenkins is going to cost probably a decent amount of money, and he has a lot of injuries. Definitely an upgrade over Matt Pryor and certainly over Nate Davis's bum ass. So I would definitely be on board with Zeitler or Scherff. Scherff, the familiarity with Press Taylor, and then obviously Zeitler, the familiarity with Johnson, JT Barrett, and Antwaan Randle. Pick a guard. Who would you rather have? Type KZ for Zeitler, BG for I don't know why I went BG. BG for Brandon Scherff. We're just having fun. You know what I was doing? I was thinking Brandon Graham because I was doing some vert stuff on my other channel. We'll just stick with BG for Brandon Scherff. I'd rather have Zeitler. Obviously, he would come along with Ben Johnson. That would seem even more easy of a transition for him. But if you ended up with one of these guys and then a younger guard to pair with them, I'd be pretty excited. Okay, let's go to running back. Javonte Williams with the Broncos. Obviously, the connection there is Declan Doyle, who's been on that staff for the past couple of seasons. And, Williams has had kind of a funky career. I remember after his rookie season when he had 900 yards, I was like, this guy's going to be a baller. Like, he's going to be really good for a long time. And then he tore multiple ligaments in 2022. And the last 2 years, he's averaged 3.6 and 3.7 yards per carry. He's lost some explosiveness. There's just no question about it. He does not look the same. Now, can he be a part of a rotation? Yes, but, to me, what's really the difference between him and, a Roschon Johnson? I don't really think there is much. And I've already talked about wanting to upgrade this room and have Roschon be like your RB3 type, and then you pair Swift with someone else. as well. I don't think Williams is that. I don't think Williams is the guy I'm pairing with DeAndre Swift. I'd rather go draft. Now, if Roschon wasn't on this team or if Ben Johnson wanted to pivot off Roschon for whatever reason and you bring in Williams to be an RB2, RB3 type, part of a rotation, okay, like it's not going to cost you much. That's fine. This kind of reeks of Deontay Foreman a few years ago when they brought him in. Like, fine player, can help you, but this isn't some lead back situation. So I would probably steer clear here and opt to draft somebody. Okay, we are sponsored by Game Time here on today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. Lots of events you can go to, and you can get the best prices and the best tickets available with our sponsor, Game Time. The ticketing sponsor of this app is Game Time. And listen, use their feature Game Time Picks to filter out the fluff of thousands of tickets to narrow down your search. That way you're not stuck scrolling for tickets for several minutes or even hours. It's going to narrow down that search. You'll find tickets within your price range, and boom, you are good to go. Disney on Ice was in Chicago yesterday. Plenty of events coming to town. If you live in the Chicago area that aren't just sports, comedy shows, concerts. Obviously, you got the Bulls, the Blackhawks. Baseball's just around the corner. The big game in less than 2 weeks for anyone who's getting down to New Orleans. So if you need to get tickets, be sure to do so with Game Time. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I've bought tickets on the day of events on numerous occasions and never had an issue with Game Time. Trust me on that. Here's what you do. Download the app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms to apply. That's code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. $20 off, first purchase only. Terms apply. What time is it? It's game time. Okay, a couple more here. We got Tim Patrick, who has connections to two coaches and two teams on this that are now on this staff. Obviously, the Lions folks where he played last year, but also Declan Doyle was in Denver last year when Tim Patrick got injured for a second straight season and was rehabbing that injury. Remember, he missed all of 22 and all of 2023. Kind of felt like maybe his career's done. Detroit picks him up after the waiver wire this season. He was kind of their number 3 receiver, honestly, after Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. Had a pretty good season, almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. And, you know, you saw flashes of the Tim Patrick of old, the Tim Patrick that got some money a few years ago with the Broncos before those back-to-back injuries hit and derailed his career a little bit. You know, you look at this group, obviously you got DJ and Rome. You'll have some sort of a number 3 receiver, I would imagine. I don't think you want Tim Patrick as that. I think they'll draft or sign someone in free agency. Maybe Keenan Allen returns. We'll see. But I think it's like a wide receiver 4 who's a good blocker, great team, great culture guy, fits in very, very well. You could do a lot worse than Tim Patrick on your football team. And if there is an injury and he needs to step in and start for a few weeks, he can certainly do that. So bring him in, $2-3 million, wide receiver 4. Sign me up. I've always been a big fan of Tim Patrick. And then lastly, Juwan Johnson with the Saints, who he's been there a while. Obviously, a lot of these new coaches have connections to the Saints. Declan Doyle was there when Juwan Johnson was there as well. A really good receiving tight end. I mean, the last 3 years, 2 500-yard seasons, and he's got 14 touchdowns in the last 3 seasons. I mean, that's starting tight end for a lot of teams, to be quite frank. And look, if he was your number 2 tight end, you'd feel thrilled. The only thing is this kind of feels Gerald Everett-y to me. Like, oh, come here, be your number 2 receiving tight end. And look, with Ben Johnson, it would probably work a lot better than it did with Shane Waldron. But you look at the Lions and what they like to do with their tight end position. They had Sam Laporta, who was a primary receiving guy who can also block. What'd they have behind him? Blocking tight ends. I think, just a guess, that Ben Johnson is going to have a similar mindset. I think he's going to have Cole Kmet, who can do it all, can block, can receive, can do all that. I think they're going to cut Gerald Everett to save that money. We'll see if Mercedes Lewis is back. If he is, he'll be a number 3, and he's obviously a blocker. I think he's going to lean toward blocking tight ends. And Juwan Johnson's not much of a blocker. I mean, he's like 230, 235. Like, he's really just a big slot receiver. So, intriguing player. I actually think he'll get some decent money, so that's probably another reason I wouldn't do it is I don't think you need to spend big here. Just get quality blockers. Like, maybe you draft somebody on day 3, bring back Mercedes Lewis, or sign a younger guy who can block on more downs, because I think with the run game that Ben Johnson's going to want to install, his tight ends need to be able to block, and Juwan Johnson doesn't really do that. Okay, who is your top offensive free agent target? Obviously, in general, I'm looking at Trey Smith. Today's show was to kind of discuss some guys who are linked to the Bears offensive coaching staff as we sit here right now. But drop a name in the comment section below on who your top offensive free agent target is. My name is Harrison Graham. We will be back with more videos very soon. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and as always, bear down.